Hi everyone, welcome to the ZCares Youth Board Night of Reflection. My name is Samantha Nimmo. I am the ZCares co-founder as well as Youth Board President, and I am so excited to see you all here today. Before we get started, I just want to say, I know all of you are right now, but please make sure that you keep your videos turned off and yourself muted throughout the panel. At the end, we will open it up for open questions. We just want to make sure the recording is nice and clean, which is awesome because all of you can go back and rewatch this amazing night. So without further ado, I would love to introduce our amazing ZCares Youth Board panelists tonight. Starting off with Allie Cooper.
Hi everyone, I'm Allie Cooper. I'm 19 years old and I'm going to be a sophomore in college at Cuesta Junior College in San Luis Obispo. I'm super passionate about mental health and ZCare's mission because through my own struggles, I've learned how important it is to feel not alone in your own struggles. In the sixth grade, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and panic disorder. And I'm here to share my story as hopefully a step in ending the stigma around mental illnesses and making my message.
That was beautiful. Thanks, Allie. All right, Derek, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, so I'm Derek Zamudio. I'm currently fourth year at Cal State Fullerton, and I mental health has been a big part of my life. I was diagnosed with bipolar mood disorder, and it was just really hard to deal with from like middle school, high school, and even in college. And I met Sam through a friend of a friend. So when I found out, I was like, this is perfect for me. Like, I have to do this. There's like no other reason I shouldn't do anything else. So I joined the team, and since then I've just been doing my best and trying to keep up and with school and everything. So that's pretty much it about me.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Derek. All right, Katie.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie Hung. I am a pastry student at Diablo Valley College. I also work at a bakery, and I recently just got a job at my church that I've been attending since I was a little girl. There, I'm the kids ministry administrator, so I work really closely with toddlers and preschoolers all the way up to middle school. Being connected with children is a huge part of where I find my happiness. Especially connecting with middle schoolers, as that's where I first really started to experience my anxiety and my depression in the 8th grade. And so my story kind of starts there. And then I actually was at a Crosswinds event when I met Sam's parents and learned all about ZCares. And then Sam asked me to be on the youth board, and I would not want to be doing anything else. I love it so much, as I'm also passionate about ending the stigma around mental health.
Thank you guys so much for introducing yourself. So obviously, all amazing people. We love our ZCares Youth Board so much. So before we get started today, I know we're going to be talking a lot about our experiences over the last year and going back into maybe in-person school or work or whatever that might be since the pandemic. So just kicking it off with one general question for you all. How do you feel about, I guess, going back into school, getting back into the swing of things? Are you excited? Are you nervous? A little bit of a mix of both. I guess, Derek, do you want to kind of start that question off?
I'm so excited to go back to school. That is like something I've been completely looking forward to. Online has just not been my cup of tea. Like my GPA dropped like a whole point, and I've never been like this low in my career as a student. So it's been kind of a struggle. But going back to school, it's just kind of my wheelhouse. I miss people. Like I miss interacting on a daily. I miss talking to professors. I just miss a lot about. I miss a lot of the in-person events that we do. I'm heavily involved on campus. In a couple of different organizations. I do like counseling for a lot of underprivileged kids in my area. I'm excited. I just switched majors too, so that's a whole nother step in my college career. I'm going from psych to business. So I don't know, just in person has just been something I've been waiting for, and I've just been counting down the days. Like I've been talking to all my roommates like about what we're gonna do or starting to plan for school, just like reaching out to everyone, everything that I'm involved in, just to like start planning for the fall. Uh, it's been something I've been like really looking forward to, and I'm very excited, and I hope everyone is too.
You can tell how excited you are. You're just like
I
you're
know.
dreaming about it.
Oh my gosh, I've been waiting. I've been waiting a year and a half.
Oh.
Yeah. I know I'm like super excited as well just to like see my friends and everything. But then again, I'm like also like nervous because I'm like, oh, I have to go back in school and like see people. I don't know. I guess does anyone else feel like that? Kind of like a little bit more anxious as well with going back?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited, but I'm also nervous. I definitely missed social situations, and I think human connection is like super important. But it's also weird to think about sitting in a classroom with a bunch of strangers that you don't know for hours at a time. Like, I don't even remember what that was like. Like, I really don't. So, yeah, I'm a mix, nervous, excited, all of it.
Yeah.
Me
Yeah.
too. I'm a bit apprehensive still, just with like COVID kind of spiking again. So that was like another thing that I thought about when I accepted this new job is I think what I'm doing in the pastry program, I think we're still going to be hybrid. And so I think I'm only going to go in like 1 day a week, and then I'm going to learn the rest online. But the thing with, you know, culinary or pastry school, it's really hard to learn online because if you're not there, like in person, learning the skill with them for them to correct you, I just feel like it's going to be really challenging, and I'm really going to miss that experience of really getting to learn with my peers and learning from those teachers. So, you know, I was like talking with my mom about it, and I might just like continue working my two jobs and maybe just holding off returning to school this semester. But again, that's like not completely off the table because I do really want to go to school, but at the same time, like I want it to be full on, like
Yeah.
every day, 7 a.m. in the kitchen, getting the grind on, you know? So I don't know.
I can't imagine learning that online. I can't.
Yeah.
That
That was
seems
why a lot of the classes for fall 2020 were canceled because they couldn't do hybrid at all. Like nobody was going in. And so they were just saying like, you're not going to learn anything online. You're not going to take anything away from it. So we're not going to have these classes.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I know that's like what Derek said too, and also like you. I feel like learning online has just been so different for a lot of people, and they finally kind of got in the swing of it, and now they're kind of like, oh, go back, and everyone's like, what's that like? I don't even know like what my learning style is anymore, and I feel like that's been like really tough on a lot of people. But yeah, thank you guys so much for sharing. So I'm actually gonna jump in with a question with Derek. So do you think that the pandemic has created more anxiety for you over the past year, or would you say it hasn't?
I would say for me, it definitely has, which is why I was very excited for school and just anything in person.
Yeah.
For me, it's always been a struggle to be by myself. Like
Mhm.
that's where a lot of my anxieties come from. Like overthinking, like it's hard. I don't sleep a lot, honestly, um, because of how much I think and how anxious I get. Like I'll
Mhm.
go to bed at 10 and I'll stay awake till 3 a.m. because it's just very hard no matter what I do. And then I have to get up early in the morning for work and a bunch of other things. So sleep really is something that affects me. And it's just because I've been inside. And I was like, because COVID was hard to get jobs, like that was also another thing, like the financial aspect was very stressful.
Mhm.
School was not going the way I wanted to, which is why I had to switch majors. So a lot of things were not going my way during this like COVID pandemic time. And it really kind of, and I also didn't know who I was. It was another big aspect. It wasn't until I was alone and stuck that I realized I didn't know who I really was. So it was just a year and a half of thinking
Well,
about like who I am and like how it's not who I really wanted to be, and I was really like disappointed in myself. So then I was very hard on myself on top of everything else. So this pandemic was really stressful until like about now, like until now, like I got a job I really enjoy. Like I switched majors, so now I have to stress about my academics as much. I kind of figured out who I was, but I was blessed with having a lot of roommates. Like I live with a lot of my friends from school, and because I live with them, I was able to talk to them every day, and they kind of helped me through this. And there was a really like dark period of me just being alone at this house. Like I was in a really dark time, and then I was very open with my roommates, and they checked on me every day. I think I talked about this with Sam once. Like they'll just pop in and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then or they'll be like, "Hey, we're gonna go eat," or they kind of push me, and I've been very thankful for them, because if it wasn't for them, I don't know, I'd probably be just steamrolling downhill. So, but because of them, I'm kind of finding my little light now, and I'm very happy with where I am.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you kind of like were able to make a situation like that into something for the better for yourselves, and thank God for your roommates and everything. But I'm like very glad that things are looking up for you, and especially that no wonder you're so excited to go back to school, just to like be around everyone and everything. I feel like a lot of us have kind of taken a lot of time for ourselves and really done a lot of like inner thinking. I know when I talk to a lot of people about like, oh, like what have you done during the pandemic? It's a lot of just like self-reflection, almost because we were almost like forced to do that just because we're all alone like for a lot of it. But yeah, so Katie, would you say that you're mentally in the same place as you are before the pandemic?
No. I would say before the pandemic, I was really kind of thriving in my element. I was going to church every week. I also was seeing my middle school group, and I'm a huge extrovert. I'm kind of an ambivert where I really thrive in social situations, but I also like having time to myself to just kind of like regenerate and recuperate from that. But for the most part, I would label myself as more of an extrovert than anything, because I love to be around people and I love to connect with people. And so when the pandemic hit us in March, I think, like most people, I was just stunned. Like all of a sudden, I've been told that I can't visit my friends, I can't visit my grandparents. And so, like you said, we were forced to spend this time with ourselves. And thankfully, I was with my mom, and my mom and I, we did puzzles all the time, and we just did what we could together. But at the same time, like, you never realize how alone you are until you can't see the people who mean the most to you. And so that was really challenging for me. And coming up with new ways to get connected with people was, we had to be really creative. We started watching movies together, like streaming together or FaceTiming at the same time. And thank goodness for the youth board, because that started in the middle of the pandemic, and we would meet on Zoom all the time and get to connect that way. And I would say now that I've been going back to church and being surrounded by such wonderful people, like to be in person with them and to feel their energy. And since a lot of us are vaccinated, we're getting hugs now. And so it's like taking me back to that place of like December 2019 when everything was so great in my life. Like I feel like that's where I am now. Like I'm back to being super happy, being back in my element of seeing these middle schoolers and now seeing like young children who have never been around this many people before. It's just a really awesome thing to see and to be around.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you definitely went from like a full roller coaster effect.
Yeah, and now I feel like I'm just like it's been a complete circle. You know, I started here being really, really happy, and then during 2020, we just kind of ran around the sun, and just like such a melancholy feeling. But now that we're back, I'm really happy now.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm so glad. So Ali, what challenges did you face within the last year? Me too, me too.
I think I could speak for all of us by saying
Uh-huh.
that this year has been insane. And for me, it's definitely been one of the toughest years that I've ever been through. In August, I ended up coming home from college because I had a relapse in my anxiety. And then once I got home, my boyfriend and I of 3 years ended up breaking up. And then my grandpa ended up in the hospital with COVID. So it was just like a bunch of things just lined all up. And I'm still struggling. I still struggle with my mental health on a daily basis. But I've learned to take it one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, and 1 second at a time, because it's really honestly all I can do right now. In the big picture, I feel like life will always have these hills and valleys, and right now is just a valley, and it will make me grateful in the future. So that's kind of the way I'm trying to look at it right now. But
Yeah.
it's definitely been a year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to like look at life, because that's also like I call it a roller coaster, but that's yeah, the same thing. That's how I always look at life. There's always going to be ups and downs, but it's just about the journey, and we're all going to end up where we're meant to end up. It's just going to take time.
Yeah. Can
Life
I add on to that?
happens. Yeah, go ahead.
Just Allie, what you're saying about just taking it day by day, minute by minute, second by second, I think is just so important, because so often, like, we look so far ahead into the future, and that's what overwhelms us and creates so much anxiety. And so when we just try to live in the present rather than looking too far into the future, when we're in the present, then we really can ground ourselves into who we are right now, rather than picturing where we are in like a month from now, or even like what's next week gonna look like, like I'm just gonna be here right now, and that's what's important.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I have such bad anxiety, I've learned that that's the only thing that can really help. I mean, anxiety is all about looking into the future. That's the only thing it really is you're looking in the future, you're looking in the past, you're not in the present at all. And so once you take a step back and realize, okay, like I need to relax for a second. And I truly believe that life happens for you, not to you. And so it's kind of just like trusting the process.
Yeah, I love that life happens for you, not to you. I think that's really important to remember. That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. That was great. All right. So Derek, I know you mentioned this the last question that I asked you, and I know we talked about this in my podcast episode actually, that you had trouble asking for help kind of when you were kind of like in your like lows and stuff like that. But I guess I just wanted to ask again, do you feel like you still kind of have those troubles asking for help when you're struggling with your mental health?
I know I mentioned this maybe once. When I was younger, I definitely did. Mostly because I didn't know how it affect my dad. My dad's like, single parent, does everything on his own.
Yeah.
And he just always wanted me to be happy. So I guess that's why I always had trouble asking for help, because if I asked for help, then I didn't want him to feel like he failed. And I think one of the hardest times I ever did was telling my dad, because at first, so some people react to it differently. That's another thing. Like everyone struggles with their own things, and being open about it, you're scared about the unknown. Like how are they gonna react? Like how are you gonna feel? Because that's kind of who you are. So I told my dad, and at first he was like in denial. Like he just kind of like, nah, like everyone gets sad. Like don't worry about it. Yeah. And this is my dad, like one of the sweetest, nicest people I've ever met, and very understanding person. But even to someone so understanding and so down to earth and very open minded, it was a struggle because it's his kid, and I know a lot of parents are scared. So it was like a little process of him having to understand, and then once he did, my dad is like one of the most helpful people now. But it was like a weird little time where he just like couldn't accept it, and it caused a little strain.
Yeah.
But now I'm very open. Like I've changed completely, and I'm very much more honest of a person, and I think that's what everyone kind of needs to be. It's hard to be honest. Like it's hard to tell someone, but just like anything, you just have to do it once, and it just slowly gets easier. So I just kind of like had to learn how to walk, and I just now if someone asks me, how are you doing today? I'll be like, oh, I'm not doing great.
Yeah.
And people, and if you give a reason like, oh, I'm not doing great, like I just found this out, yeah, it's kind of a bummer, but how are you doing? Like if you don't like focus too much on it, and they're just very open about it, it's not like a weird thing. You're not putting anyone in a weird situation. Like if someone came up to you like, oh, I'm having a bad day, like I just got an F on a test, I just feel like it'll affect me. They'll be like, oh, don't worry about it, like next time. And then you'll be like, okay, like thank you, like I do appreciate it. Like people are very understanding. People do want to help. but they need to know how to help. And if they don't know what's going on, they don't know how to help you, and they don't know how at least to alleviate the stress.
Yeah.
So that's something I had to learn. My friends had to tell me that, like, Derek, we want to help you. We want to know what's going on in your life, but you never tell us. You never ask for it, which just makes it hard for us, and it's gonna make it harder on you too.
Yeah.
So it was just like something I had to learn the hard way, and yeah. So
Yeah.
now I'm always looking for help because I'm not afraid to ask for it, and I don't think anyone should be.
Yeah. That's
You have
awesome.
some good friends. I want some friends like yours.
Yeah, for real. You have amazing friends. But that's honestly like so cool because I feel like a lot of times when we kind of like go into like those lows or we're struggling a lot more than like we usually are with our mental health, a lot of time, even though it's so easy to say like just ask for help, it's honestly much harder to do than say. So it's honestly like a big accomplishment that you were able kind of like to work through that and understand that people really do want to help you and they're there for you. And that's awesome that your friends were like there advocating for you to like speak up as well. That's really cool. But yeah, Allie and Katie, do you guys have kind of like a story with that, I guess, or do you ever have trouble asking for help when you're struggling with your mental health?
Yeah, Allie, do you want to go for it or?
I'm good. You can go first.
Yeah, for me, definitely when I first wanted to talk to my mom about how I was feeling, I was scared, just because I didn't know how to do it. And at that point, I think Derek mentioned it, just coming to your parent and you just don't want to seem like a failure, or you just don't want to disappoint them, or you say something. And my mom, also the kindest, sweetest human being in the world, was also kind of dismissive about it. She was like, "Oh well, you're a teenager. We all kind of go through it, and it's just a phase, and you're probably fine." And that made me feel really crummy, because then I was definitely feeling worse than that. But at the same time, because my mom dismissed that, I didn't know how to address it again and be like, "No, I really feel pretty lousy." And so that's when I really turned to music, and I started like subtly playing these songs that said how I felt. And I was just hoping and praying that she would catch on to that message, until finally I sat down and I showed her this TED talk about depression. And I was like, "I think this is how I feel. And it's not just a phase." And I'm bawling at this point. I'm like, "I think I really need help, and I'm really sad." And at that point, my mom was kind of noticing the change in me, and she did her research, and she became so supportive. And now to this day, we're both just like, "Yeah, this makes me really anxious," or "I'm having a really kind of bad day. I just want to stay in bed." And she's become really open about it too, because she's on the adult board for Z Cares, and so she's really become an advocate for mental health as well. But it was really a journey to get to where we are now. But like I always like to say, there's strength in vulnerability, and it takes a lot of courage to share your heart. And yeah, but it's really important.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I struggle a lot with asking for help. I've gotten a lot better at it. For the first 3 years, I was diagnosed with anxiety, and I told everyone I just had stomach problems, and that's why I couldn't go to like events and stuff. Is I just like my stomach hurts, and so I hid it for a really long time. And I've also realized that because I don't necessarily fit the stereotype of, the shy kid in the corner with anxiety, a lot of people have dismissed me for it, including health professionals and friends. They don't really believe me when I tell them that I have anxiety. So that kind of made me not want to tell anyone, because I knew how I was feeling and I didn't want anyone to disvalue that. So, but I'm kind of at this point where the only thing worse than not being okay is pretending you're okay when you're not okay. That's going to make it 100 times worse. And I believe that getting help and being open is the first step in your healing process. So
Yeah, that's great. And that's such like a prime example of like stigma working, is just like
right.
people not believing that someone is feeling a certain way, because anything that you're feeling on the outside, you can mask so easily. And that just goes goes to show that you really don't know how somebody is feeling just by them simply existing next to you. Like, you really have to like dive into those questions, because it's hard. Hey, like, I'm not doing great right now. So we really do have to keep checking in on our friends and like believing what they're saying to us and being there to help them. That's so important. Yeah, thank you guys so much for sharing that.
I think there was a question in the chat, something
Okay.
about can you share what to say to or with someone who is struggling? I honestly, everyone's different, like how they want to be addressed when they're like going through a rough time. With me, I loved honesty. I've always loved when someone just kind of called me out in a way, or at least like put it out there, because it's one of those things. It sounds weird to say, but if you're ever like, for example, doing homework and you have a paper was due that night, that shock, you're like, oh, I need to do something. Or when you're late to like an appointment, you're like, oh my gosh, I have an appointment in 20 minutes, and you do everything like right away. That shock is what grabs someone's attention to me. So I've always liked that shock. I've always been like, if someone's like, hey, I know you're not okay, what's up? And I'm like, oh shoot, like, and then they're like, either I know I'm not okay, and like, oh, they see it. If I'm like seen, then it's kind of hard to hide. That's how my friends got to me. They're like, you're not okay, and you're like, you're making me mad because you're not okay, and you're taking it out on us. Like, what is your deal?
Yeah.
Or like my dad, he'll be like, hey, like, what's wrong? Like, I could tell. And that honesty has always gone a lot with me. Then I'm very open, because there's nowhere to go. I can't pretend like I'm not fine. I guess like I can't hide it. I can't put a mask on. Like, I'm very seen out in the open. Now it's just time to explain myself. So that's for someone that you kind of can get to. But I guess I know a lot of people like to just continue to lie through it because they don't want to be seen. So I don't know if Ali, Katie, even Sam, like if you were someone how would you like to be addressed, I guess?
The way I personally go about it is, if I haven't heard from a friend in a while, or I would say even like pre-COVID, if somebody was retreating from their activities, or they like stopped going to things, they stopped wanting to meet up for lunch or things like that, I would just say, hey, I just wanted to check in and see how you were doing. I'm always open to talk if you wanted to. Or like the example that Derek, you gave when you were honest, if somebody asked like, hey, how are you doing, just casually, and you normally say, oh yeah, I'm fine. When you say, oh, I'm not doing so great, then that person can say, oh, well, do you want to talk about it, or do you want like a distraction from it? Like, I'm always here if you want to talk about it, because sometimes we don't necessarily want to at the time. We just want to know that somebody is there to listen. So that's the way I kind of like to go about it. Just checking in with people you may know who have mental health issues, or just your friends in general, normalizing talking about your mental health. Just saying, hey, let's have a time where we can like really talk about what's going on in our lives, and go below the surface, and just get deeper.
Right. Just knowing that someone is there is doing half the battle. It's hard. And with a lot of mental health issues, like someone with a mental illness, like the first thing that they want to do is like just isolate themselves completely. And so like you said, Katie, if you kind of haven't heard from someone, that's a sign that they're struggling. And being open to communicating and telling them that you can tell me anything that you want, and I'm not going to be scared. I'm not going to run away. Like being there for them 100% of the way, because that's what friendships are for. Like if you have friends that just want you when you're a happy, bubbly person, that's not a friendship. Like a friendship, you got to pick each other up when you're down. So yeah, I totally agree with both of you guys. I think there's different ways to do it, but I think just telling them that you're there is good enough.
Yeah. this person said sometimes they want to fix it and we don't need them to fix it. Yes, I feel like when you tell somebody your struggles, it's like, okay, I don't need advice. I don't need you to try and like be my therapist right now. I just wanted you to listen. Like
Right.
could you have just been the ear to listen? Like you don't need to fix it. That's not your job to fix it, you
Yeah.
know? Um and that's the thing that Sam's dad Steve likes to say is that we aren't broken and we're not meant to be fixed. Like we just I feel like there's like a difference between being fixed and being healed from your struggles. And so yeah, it's like I'm not broken. Like just because I have depression or anxiety does not mean I'm broken. Like there's nothing for you to like glue back together or fix, you know? So yeah, I think if you're trying to talk to the person, just be like, I don't need you to like really give me advice. I just would love for you to just listen.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that. Most people that I tell, not my friends or anything, but if I'm like, I was at a appointment one time and I was telling her a little bit and I was opening up and I was telling her about my anxiety and she was telling me every which way direction that I needed to do, what, that she has anxiety and I can just get through it and stay in college and everything will be fine. And I finally was like, I'm sorry, but like, you gotta stop. Like, it's just, I don't need that. And that's just more stress to be put on that person with them trying to fix it. Like you said, there's nothing to be fixed right now. I just need someone to listen to me. That's all I need.
It's honestly very frustrating when someone just tries to like,
Yeah.
I don't know, give advice.
I'm here for my hair, not a therapy appointment.
I get so upset. I know a lot of people are very nice about it. I'm not, and and like you guys say like, oh, I don't need, like I'll be like, I'll kind of say very bluntly like, I just need you to be quiet, and that's just I guess who I am. But you could do that as well. I guess people are like, because if you, I don't know, I've always felt if you're like, oh, like I'm struggling, and then people try to like, oh, like, and then it turns into this like toned, like that. That's why I just kind of normalize it. I always normalize it. I'm always very like straight up and blunt, because if you do a very more normal toned with it, like normalize it as well as you can, then it doesn't become like a teaching lesson. It just becomes like a conversation.
Or a pity party, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But honestly, to answer that question too, is you can say that when you're, hey, I'm checking in. Like, do you just want to talk? Do you want me to figure out a solution for you, help you fix it? And then you kind of know like what you can and can't say kind of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like this like super serious like conversation. It really just like, I feel like the more like normal and just like casual the conversation is, the better. And like what Derek said, I'm like the same way as Derek. If someone just like literally just like randomly is like, hey, how you doing, like whatever, like I'm more likely just to like tell you, if it's not this like sit down therapy session. I feel like that's much more beneficial just to be like very nonchalant about it. But yeah.
And I think the more you are nonchalant about it, they'll soon get it. Because my dad, like the way she mentioned, my dad was like that. He just was always like trying to help me, and I just like, Dad, no. Mm-hmm. And after like saying it so many times, now when I talk to my dad, he's like, you okay? I'll be like, no. He's like, you want to talk about it? I'm like, nope. He's like, okay, cool. Like, if you're talking about like someone specifically, if you continuously say like, nope, that's not what I need. Keep doing it. Nope, that's not what I need. They'll understand when and when not to do it. It's taking time.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, that was a great discussion. Okay, so just switching gears a little bit. So Katie, I know in the kind of like trailer that we made for this whole panel, we all answered questions and stuff just about the last year. And one of the questions I believe that you answered was just, what is something you let go of and something you gained in the past year? And I'd love just to hear your answer, because I know over COVID, a lot of us kind of think about the negatives and just everything that happened to us and that was taken away. But there actually was a lot of things that a lot of us did gain. Like Derek, for example, did a lot of like self-reflecting. Like that's something that he would have never really had time for if this didn't happen. Maybe hobbies. Anyways, I'll let you answer the question.
Yeah. My answer is two-sided. Something I let go of is more of a a mental thing, and I let go of what people thought about me, because so much of, I feel like, my identity when I went out into the world, I said, oh, is this cute? Like, would people compliment me on this? Like, do I look okay? Like, I'm not a self-centered person, but at the same time, we all kind of have this voice like, oh, like, what do you think that they'll think about me? And so during COVID, there were just so many worse things going on in the world for me to be concerned about. Like I had no reason to really be concerned with myself, basically, because I had a home, I was healthy, I was safe, I had my mom, I had my dog. Like, there was nothing for me to be concerned over about going out and thinking like, oh, these people are going to see me like this. No, I went out to the grocery store in sweatshirts and I didn't care, because who cares? Nobody cares. Um, Something that I gained was not actually 2020, but this year I started knitting, and that became a huge self-care thing for me to knit. If I had a long day at work, I would go home and I would pick up needles and I would knit. And I recently just started piano lessons because I've been wanting to learn for a really long time. I have a piano and I kind of self-taught myself. I've been singing since forever, doing vocal lessons since 6th grade. And so I just really wanted to expand my knowledge of music. So this year, 2021, I gained knitting and piano.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Those are two things that keep you present.
Yeah, exactly. I have to be right there. Yeah, yeah, really good point, Allie.
Yeah. Yeah. I know like so many people have like literally taken up like so many different activities or let go of something in the past. So that's really cool that this window, I'm so sorry. That's really cool that you were able to kind of like really do that, I guess, and like really dive into like yourself and be like, you know what, this doesn't serve me anymore. Bye. kind of thing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Allie, how did you kind of nurture not only your body, but your mind during the past year?
Yeah, so a good thing that I gained during this year is I've learned the importance of nurturing my mind and my body. I picked up practices like meditation and yoga, which I never thought that I would be into that, but it's kept me really present. And also things like keeping a consistent workout regimen. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, but just getting out at least once a day and moving my body, along with eating as clean as possible. I know it's hard, especially our age, just want to eat all the good food in the world, but your body is going to mimic exactly how you're fueling it and how you're treating it. And so I've learned that I need to feed my body right for it to feel right. But also I've come to realize a structured morning routine is super helpful for me. So once I get up, I can't go on my phone. I need to get up, take 10 minutes for myself, doing whatever with no distractions, no people in the way, just me and myself. Whether that's literally talking to myself in the mirror, like it doesn't matter, just no distractions. Chugging some water and working out, and then eating a super balanced, clean meal is super helpful in my routine and helping my mind and my body stay good during this time. So yeah, that's kind of what I've picked up.
Yeah, that's really cool that you mentioned the kind of morning routine thing, because I recently also kind of started noticing that, like if you, because I like to like journal and like have like a whole self planner and stuff. So just like taking like that 10 minutes in the morning, like it kind of sets a tone for the rest of your day that I think is like really important. It's like a really cool skill to kind of like acquire, especially over quarantine, I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's hard when sometimes we wake up and we're hit in the face with, stuff we have to do that day, and maybe it's stuff we don't like, or, people that we don't necessarily want to talk to at 7 in the morning. Like sometimes we just need a minute for ourselves. And so the morning is the time to do that. And a phone is usually the time you go on it in the morning. It's to scroll TikTok, but then you're looking at other people's lives and you want to focus on yours for that first 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super cool. Derek, what have you learned about yourself in the past year?
I've learned a lot. Like that self-reflection kind of taught me a lot.
Yeah.
It sounds bad, like what I'm about to say, but it's like not. Like, like before I used to be like, I'm not gonna say I'm not nice, but before I would just kind of, if it's something I didn't want to do, I would do it because if it was if someone asked me to do something, I'd just do it. If I would take part in things I didn't really care for. I guess this year I just, in the most natural way, been very selfish. Like if I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be there because I want to be there. I'm gonna spend time with you because I want to spend time with you. I'm not gonna waste my time anymore. That's something that I've learned about myself. Something I've kind of adjusted to. Just being very honest, just being very upfront with people. Just about that's kind of helped me with my like stresses, anxieties. Like if I'm not gonna be at some place, I'll quit. Like I've done that now, and it's kind of like who I am now, and it's something I kind of adjust to, and it's been really weird because I don't know, it's kind of hard. Like it's hard to be like tell someone no, I don't want to hang out with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard to tell like someone, and I'm just like, oh, like, it's nothing on you. We're just not compatible when we hang out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of weird to say. It sounds like really bad, but it's just I don't like wasting my time anymore, and that's something I've learned.
I don't think that sounds bad. I honestly think it sounds like you know who you are, you know how you want to spend your time, and you're not going to put your time in other places. And that's something that I learned too is there's power in saying no, and there's power in, you know, doing things that only you want to do. And in my previous job, I would say no to every single thing. If I had to work overtime 5 days in a row, I would say yes. I would be like, I'm gonna do it because I always wanted, I'm a people pleaser. I want to please everyone, until I was like, am I pleasing myself? And that's when it's like, I gotta say no to some things. I'm overworking myself, and there's power in saying no.
And that's when it's okay to be selfish. And that's when it's okay to realize, like Derek, you're saying, like, I have no energy to do something that I don't want to do. Like,
right.
I need to do something that's going to benefit myself, and something that I personally want to put my energy towards is not always hanging out with this specific person. You know what I mean? Like, but it's not necessarily about that person. It's just like, no, right now, like mentally and emotionally, physically, I don't have the energy to do something that I don't want to do. And that's okay. And I think that's really okay to be selfish sometimes. Because like Allie, I'm also a people pleaser, and I just want to make everybody else happy before myself. So I think that is something I need to work on more, is like saying no sometimes.
Yeah, I've definitely, this year has been the first year that I like actually would say no to things. And I said no the first like 3 times, and I literally was like, oh my God. But now I've gotten really good at saying no if it's something that I don't want to do. And it's now I kind of feel like strong.
Yeah.
Don't tear me down.
Yeah, I've gotten definitely more like gutsy, just in my personal life, and even like in public. I'm not like mean in public, but if someone does something, I'm like, hey, very quick, I didn't appreciate that, and I'm like not trying to cause an issue. I just don't like that, and it's kind of just hurt that person or hurt me. I'm sorry, and I'll walk away. Like I'll do that a lot. I don't know why. Like it's just something I feel like I have to say things now, because I was so in my head, and I'd be upset with myself because I would never speak what was on my mind, and now I just always say what's on my mind.
Right.
So I guess that's like what I've learned a lot about myself, is I'm very unafraid anymore of literally anything I say or do.
Right.
That's really cool, because I feel like a lot of times we get like so lost in like what people want and what people expect of us and all of that we like forget about like ourselves. And I feel like it's so important just to like always remember to like put yourself first, because at the end of the day you can't do like what's expected of you to do if you're not like in the right headspace. And I think that's like very important to remember and just like live by really. So it's like really cool that you're able to I guess just like learn that this year, Derek. That's really cool. I know like I have trouble a lot with saying no, so I'm like that's amazing that you're able to. Yeah. All right. So I have a few questions just for the whole group, and then we will get into our questions from the audience. So you guys can start sending your questions through chat, and we'll get to them in a few minutes. But before we do that, just like we kind of were talking about in the beginning of the panel, that this year really there's a lot of negatives. We all could go on a huge list about it. But I just really want to go around really fast and go around and say one thing that you're grateful for about this year. We kind of already did this, but I just really like this question. So Ali, I'll have you go first.
I have been so thankful for the outdoors this year. There is something so healing and keeps you present when you're outside and you're listening to the birds and you're watching the trees and you can be outside doing anything. You could read a book, you could go on a hike, you can go on a bike ride, you can do so many things, but it keeps getting beautifuler.
Yeah. All right, Katie, what about you?
Past year, I'm grateful for Disney Plus because I watched all my favorite Disney movies. I watched all my favorite Marvel movies. And I find like a lot of comfort in those things. They're like my comfort films. And so just to have them like ready and on demand whenever I want them has been something that I'm really grateful for. And because of all of these streaming services, it was a way for me and my friends to still connect with each other, and we would watch something. We would have movie night together. We would like, oh, I'm making my popcorn right now too, and we would just like hang out virtually. So I'm really thankful for that. I'm thankful for technology in that aspect.
Yeah, I have to say really fast, I've never met somebody that loves Disney more than Katie. She loves Disneyland, anything Disney. She loves it. I just had to say that really fast. Okay, Derek, what is one thing that you're grateful for?
I'm grateful for all the new opportunities because everything was kind of just taken away.
Yeah.
And everything was just brought back all at once. There was like so many things you could do. Like you were not set on a schedule anymore. Like everyone just had like a thing and they kind of went in that direction. And since everyone had nothing, you could start wherever you wanted again. Yeah. So I'm very grateful for that. I just told Sam today, like I told a couple of people, like they didn't know, like I work at a brewery now. And I was like, I would have never worked there before. And now I'm like work at a brewery and I'm like, oh wow, like this is a cool passion. And it's something I want to do. Like I want to now like get into that kind of like line of work. And then I also started like doing like jujitsu classes. And I'm like, wow, like this is what I really want to do. Those are like two things a year and a half ago would not have done. And now I'm doing it. Just because it's a new opportunity, it's like a new time. Yeah. And I'm like taking full advantage of that.
Yeah, that's super cool. All right, I want to share mine really fast. Sorry. Okay, I would have to say that I'm very grateful. This sounds gonna sound like weird, but I'm very grateful for the power of gratitude. I wake up every morning and I literally think of like 3 things that I'm like grateful for, and it's just helped me like, I guess just kind of like carry myself throughout the day. You know, like if something bad happens, it's like, you know what, it's okay. Like I am so grateful for like these things, and it just like helps me put things in a perspective. So I just wanted to share that really fast. Okay, so my last question for me before we get into the audience questions is just, why is taking care of your mental health so important? It's very, you can go anywhere with this question, so I'm excited to hear your answers.
It's a loaded question for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
Do you want to start, Katie?
I can try.
Okay. You can always add.
Because almost at this point, you know, it's like second nature for me. Like I will pick up my needles, not even thinking like, oh, I need to practice some self-care, or like I am going to write, you know, it's like, I don't even really think about it anymore. And so much of my actions have become second nature that I almost don't think about like, oh, this is really important for me, or this is not so good for me. And so I think so much of what we talked about this past evening was being in the present to really know how to take care of ourselves. And being a little bit selfish is important as well. Otherwise, um, you're not going to have anything to give if you don't have anything within you to begin with. If you're not giving to yourself first, and like you're literally going to pull nothing to give to somebody, and it's going to be pointless. It's like I'm giving you all this advice for your own mental health, but I'm not taking it myself, and that's just going to put you into this backwards downhill spiral. um so yeah, I just think more than anything, just prioritizing your mental health is so important, because when you're mentally okay, then you can be in the right place to like take care of yourself physically, and then you can go on and take care of other people.
Yeah, that's so important. Like, definitely taking care of yourself first. I'm like 100% agree. Allie, do you want to answer the question next?
Yeah. I think it is a loaded question because there's so many different things that you can do to take care of your mental health. You could do physically, or you could do like in your mind. But mental health is just as important as physical health. And I'll say it 1,000 times.
If not more.
Yeah, right. I will say it till I'm blue in the face. But our physical health will be directly affected if we're not taking care of our own mental health. And I think right now is a perfect time to look back and look at the perfect example that's happening right now in the Olympics with Simone Biles.
Yeah.
And she was courageous enough. She took a step back and she said, listen, I know I'm going to do something silly in there because my mental well-being right now is not in a good space. And she could have gone in there and hurt herself because of that. And so, yeah, it's so important because it can affect everything in your life if you're not taking care of your mental health. It can affect relationships. It can affect anything around you. And if someone broke their leg, we wouldn't be questioning why they took a step back from work. So we need to give that same sort of effort. If someone needed to take a step back from work because they're not in the right mental headspace, then yeah, take a step back. We need to get there because we're not there, but it's just as important.
Yeah, that's my favorite analogy, the broken leg one, because it's so true. You would not question somebody that walks in the room with a cast on at all. But if somebody walked in and was like, you know what, I'm super like anxious today, I'm not doing well, I'm in a bad mental headspace, people would question that all day long. So that's I love that analogy so much.
Yeah. And I think it's super important, like, because like what we said is a lot of the times you won't know what people are dealing with because it's hidden on the inside. And so I always try and, like, when I walk into a room, try on everyone else's shoes in the room before I even try on mine, like just to go around and think about what it would be like to be each person, because they could be struggling. I mean, 1 in 5 people struggle with it. So
exactly. It's so important just to like think about like what someone else might be going through, because you really never know, and that's so just important to like keep in the back of your mind all the time. What about you, Derek? Why is taking care of your mental health so important? What do you think?
Well, something I like think about a lot, I learned this a long time ago, was everything in moderation. That was like this little like blurred sentence. And it was basically like everything needs balance. And just like from like simple stuff, like when it gets hot, you drink water. Like when you're tired, like, you'll take a break. When you work, you spend time with family. Like everyone has that balance. And like mental health is just a part of that balance. Like if you're struggling, you take something off. Like you rest. Same as you're physically struggling, as you said with the leg thing. So just to like keep it short, because I don't want to like repeat, like everything in moderation was something I thought of and something I consistently think of, and that's why mental health is important, because everything needs a balance, including your mental health.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for sharing those answers. They're all so amazing. I definitely learned so much from all of you. All right, so I am going to open the floor to anybody in the audience that would like to ask a question. I know we've answered a few through chat already, but if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, or just ask a question through chat, feel free to right now. If you don't have a question, that's totally fine, but I'm giving the next 3 minutes just for you guys to ask any questions that you might have for our lovely panelists. So we'll sit in
There
silence.
was a question earlier that says, how do you check in with yourself and your mental health during the school year / times of high stress?
Oh yeah, me forgetting that question. Okay, yeah.
I probably can't answer that because I didn't have a very stressful school year, so I'm not a good person to answer.
I personally, before I go to sleep, I kind of just meditate a little bit, and I think about, what happened during the day, and kind of just get it all out in my head. And yeah, really check in with myself at night and be like, okay, like what happened today? How can we go about this situation? And then I will use some anxiety tool to go around it. One of my favorites is called tapping, if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I will usually tap to whatever is happening in my head.
That's great.
I think too, just removing yourself from that situation. Like if you're working on something that's really stressing you out, just like take a step back, take like 5-10 minutes, maybe if you can afford to take an hour. I don't know, take a shower, eat something, and then come back to it later with some fresh eyes. Hopefully that might help you out.
Yeah.
I would just say like outwardly let it out. I feel like a lot of people like they'll like leave or they'll do something and just try to keep it in. I'm very for just like letting it out. Like if someone wants to cry, like cry. If someone's angry, I always say like get mad at me right now. Like I like when people let it out because like I feel like a lot of people have gotten mad and they like yelled and like and they kind of just like feel so good because they finally like let it out. Like any high stress emotion, I don't know, just find an empty, like I usually go to my room or I'll go outside, like any like space with no one around and just whatever emotion you're feeling, just go to the heightened extent of it so you can just come back down.
Yeah. Emotions are beautiful.
Yeah. I'll watch Inside Out.
Everyone watch Inside Out and cry your eyes out just like I did.
It's a good movie. One thing that I just wanted to add to that too is that if you're recognizing that you're struggling and stuff, I know it's like sometimes like hard, but in school, one thing that you could do if you're super stressed out is maybe like ask your teachers or professors for a little bit of help. I know I'm like super big into like advocating for myself, just if I need more time on a test or assignment. So a lot of the time, like if you explain what's going on, they're going to be pretty understanding, hopefully, and give you that extra time. I know that's something that I do, and it's helped me a lot deal with my stress. So yeah. All right, well, we have another question that says, now it seems like some who say they're anxious or having anxiety, they are marginalized and blown off if we are not taken seriously. What can we do? Leave, get mad, ?
I honestly, because this has happened to me so many times, even with people who specialize in anxiety, they're like, are you sure you have anxiety? You look great. You look fine. And I would explain it to them and say, there's no reason to get mad at them. Maybe they haven't known someone with anxiety. And so I usually am like, this is what I experience on a day-to-day basis. And I have panic attacks all the time, and try and make it so they can see what my life looks like a little bit. Because it is true that not a lot of people know what mental illnesses are. And so we have to be the advocates and we have to explain what it is and what it's like. So no, I wouldn't say get mad. I would say explain it to them. And then if they're rude, maybe leave. But
I'll ask them. I'll be like, why? Oh, you don't think I have anxiety, or do you not think why? And then they like have to rationalize why they think you don't have something.
Turn it on
And
them.
then, yeah, like I love doing that. I'll be like, oh, okay. I bet. Well, I feel this. I go through this, and I am this way.
Mhm.
Like you explain to me that, I'll tell you what I am. And if you still don't believe me, then okay, then I'll walk away. Like there's nothing you can do. I can't change someone's mind. I can like try to understand them and then give them my perspective. And at the end of the conversation, if they still don't believe it, then it's not my problem. I guess it's just you matter more than anything else, I believe. And if someone's not going to believe you, I'll just go to someone else, because like I'm not going to let. I used to let one person, like little people in my life, affect everything about me, and I don't want to do that anymore. Like if one parent didn't believe me, I go to the other. If one friend didn't believe me, I go to another. Like it doesn't. I don't want to let someone control me anymore. So I guess that's like a thing. Like ask them and then state your point and leave. At least you got your point across. At least you were able to speak your mind before you left the situation.
Echo to all of that.
I know, that was so good. I don't even know what to say. You guys covered it all. All right, well, I know we are past time since it's 7:04 and I want to respect everyone's time. But if you have any additional questions, feel free to stay around in the panel and I can help you answer them. You also can contact us here at ZCares. Check out our website, zcares.org. This whole recording is going to be available online, so make sure to check that on our Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. Share to as many people as you can the recording. And yeah, I just want to thank you all so much for showing up, asking some amazing questions, and a final thank you to our amazing panelists. And I wish you all a great evening, and hopefully we'll see you in the next panel. All right, bye everyone.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.